as we come to our fourth video on the ways that we are to honor God's name. So, second commandment, you shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God. What does this mean? We should fear and love God, that we do not use his name to curse, swear, practice superstition, lie, or deceive, but to call upon it in the day of trouble, to pray, praise, and to give thanks. Here's another way, picking up on this next thought, as Luther would share it, the idea of satanic arts, or using God's name for dark purposes, witchcraft, practicing superstition. What does that mean? Well, if we are going to try to discover some kind of powers or some kind of knowledge that God doesn't gift us in the Holy Scriptures, revealed to us by the Holy Scriptures, then we are actually, as Christian people, looking to demonic influences, the devil himself, to reveal things to us, as if we could benefit from that, as if God is keeping knowledge from us or powers from us because he is evil and we can look elsewhere. That happens a lot in our culture, even to this day, even as secular as we might be. It especially happens in pagan cultures or Eastern cultures too, where anything else besides God is turned to for divine insight into things or powers for things. I'll give you, well, maybe you can try to come up with some examples before I give you some examples. Go ahead and pause at this time. What do you think there might be examples of in our culture where people turn to other things besides God's revealed word in the Holy Scriptures to gain insight about life, their own future, or to receive powers over other people or for their own purposes in this life? As you consider that, I'm going to read to you from Isaiah chapter 8, 19 through 20, and then I'll give you an illustration that's kind of been a controversial thing, maybe more so when these recent works were written. But Isaiah 8, 19 through 20. When someone tells you to consult mediums and spiritists who whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God? Why consult the dead on behalf of the living? Consult God's instruction and the testimony of warning. If anyone does not speak according to his word, they have no light of dawn. So even the Old Testament prophet was dealing with this. They are looking for insight from people who communicate with the dead or try to. Today we call them mediums or spiritists. You think about, these are the examples. So if you're going to pause, do so now. But tarot readings, deciphering tea leaves, tarot cards, or you could think about palm reading. You could think about Ouija boards. You could think about seances. You could think about really any false religion, calling out to a false god, of course, but in particular, being captivated by demonic influences, trying to speak to spirits that are out there, or even in the way of discovering haunted houses and all these different things, trying to make contact with the spiritual realm apart from God, apart from his word, trying to understand things about the future, like horoscopes, trying to make too much of the stars and things like astrology, of seeing how the stars are all lined up to try to get insight into your life. So the zodiac signs, Aries or Capricorn or Cancer or whatever, all these things are different ways that we're trying to gain insight and powers that God would not have us have. Isaiah would say, turn to his word. One of the illustrations here that we talk about, this is kind of controversial, at least it was when these things were first written, but the Harry book series, Harry Potter book series, not the Harry book. I don't know the Harry book. So the Harry Potter series, just the ideas of Halloween and witchcraft and all these things that were kind of given an appeal. Now, those books all fall within the area of Christian freedom. God doesn't forbid us to understanding that these things are fiction and to kind of be captivated by the stories. Now, some Christian families might disagree with that, others might, but from the scriptures, these things can be done in Christian freedom. However, if such works would cause us to dabble in dark arts, to dabble in witchcraft, to give legitimacy to it, well, then it would become a sin. So really, what are we trying to say? We want to honor God's name. We don't want to suggest to other people that divine insight can be received outside of the scriptures. Because what will happen? Well, there are deceiving spirits behind everything else but what God says. And if we give this idea that as a Christian people that we support that or we would encourage that, then we are accessories to people being led astray. So be blessed as you consider these things. Be on the lookout for different ways that people can interject these things into our life. We are safe only when we rely on God's revelation. And that's how we honor God's name, by turning to the scriptures and leaving God to reveal to us what he decides and to not look anywhere else. We'll take a look next time on, again, living appropriately for God's word and honoring his reputation. God bless.